People want buying to be easy, whether that's buying a pair of leggings or a year-long mastermind program to help them learn investing. They're looking for ways to buy with ease. And it's your job as a business owner to make it as easy as possible so that you can make more sales. Now, hey, and welcome back to the Business Real Talk. On this episode, we're going to talk about what it actually means to make the buying process as easy as possible for your customers so that you can make more sales. Now, here's the real talk. Regardless of the outcome, whether you want more effective marketing with less work and more conversions, or leads buying faster, or ultimately leads being able to sell themselves, or if you want to be able to increase your thought leadership so you can work with corporate clients, write a book, be on bigger stages, the solution remains the same. You need to make the buying process as easy as possible for your customers in order to make more sales. Now, right now, you may be feeling like you've got great traction, but you've got slow or low conversions. And maybe you know that your approach is great, your skills are needed, but it's just not panning out to people knocking down your door. Or maybe it feels like a lost cause to try and get people to say yes without needing to be handheld every single step of the way. Nobody wants to feel like they're putting in all this work only to get ghosted or see slow results on the back end. And right now, you may have a folder full of lead magnets, years worth of content that you've posted, and offers to fit every single level of buyer in your market. But you're lacking the strategic guidance that actually gets them to the result you want as quickly as possible. Now, the typical advice may be have just to get organized. So you set up all the tools by the dozen, from Kartra to Kajabi, Go High Level, Notion, Asana. The list goes on and on. Organization was the goal, but how did it get so dang complicated? So let's talk about how you actually make it easy for people to buy from you. Now, let's get real. Right now, your marketing may feel a little bit more like a maze. You're posting 3 times a day, going live 1 to 2 times a week, especially when you're trying to increase conversions. You have a detailed launch schedule with a different offer every 6 weeks and everything mapped out down to the minute. And in between, you're trying to keep up momentum with masterclasses that give people a teaser taste of you, and all for one singular reason: to increase conversions. But let's get real. This isn't where you want your business to be. You've done the work. You've got the receipts for all the years you've poured into it, and you're looking to streamline that process to make your marketing so damn effective that posting more than once a day becomes redundant. So those leads that are chomping at the bit are so ready to buy, they're jumping in from all different directions. But let's get real. Right now, that marketing maze is leaving your audience dazed and confused, wandering around for longer than necessary, and stumbling to the next best option because it took too much effort to buy from you. So, real talk, too much information will only leave your leads overwhelmed and struggling to make a decision. And an overwhelmed buyer just doesn't buy. The problem is, too little information will repel them and make them feel like they don't have enough of the right information to confidently choose you. So, how the hell do you remedy this? It starts by simplifying the decision. We can all agree that when we make it a simple decision, people can choose faster. Take, for example, if I were to ask you a movie that you'd love to star in, you'd likely stop, think, and make a mental list of all the movies, why you'd want to be them, and so many other things. But if I instead asked you if you'd rather be in a Die Hard film or The Notebook, that decision becomes simple. The key is to give them only the information they need to make that decision as simple as possible. The reality is, with the sheer gravity of information that people are consuming right now, more is not more. The goal is to present only the necessary information that makes that decision simple and effortless. The problem is, most businesses haven't even given those decisions that their clients make a single thought, nonetheless created a process that addresses it. So let's start in reverse. The first thing we need to look at to ultimately map out decisions is, what is the final decision you want people to make? It's a simple enough question, but one that most businesses answer wrong. Now, often I'll hear people most commonly say, I don't know, maybe it's that they want to lose 30 pounds. Now, that's proof that we're using convincing language that focuses on something that millions of other people could help with. Now, another form of the answer might be, just to want to work with me. And sure, that's part of it, but it's bigger than that. It's the big conceptual decision in their mind that confirms that you're the only option for them. And there's two components that give body to that final decision. Number one is what specific decision that speaks to your unique approach. And number two is for what reason. Let me give you an example using my business model. Now, my decision that I ultimately want people to make is that the easiest method is the only and most sustainable method for acquiring and retaining clients by getting leads to sell themselves so they can simplify predictable growth, make legacy building revenue, and create global change. Ultimately, it's up to me how quickly or how slowly I get people to that realization. For many people, it's a winding maze that ultimately, if at all, your audience gets lost on. And maybe there's glimmers of that idea along the way, but it's hard to find and it's not easily understood. This is why your main objective when people enter into your world should be to establish this idea and then reverse engineer the micro decisions that happen in order to get to that bigger decision. So in our world, we leverage the bingeable sales system that allows people to get to that result. I call this the main dose of you. The goal is that when someone enters into our world, we're giving them the necessary information that allows them to understand the main decision we want them to make, as well as the micro decisions along that pathway. So let's look at the micro decisions that we want people to make throughout our process so you can see firsthand what that actually means. What we're trying to do is identify the main outcome, the main decision we're asking people to make, and then be able to identify the micro decisions that happen along that way to make that main decision completely and totally logical for them. So, in our world, the first decision we're asking people to make is that becoming the innovative and incomparable solution that allows them to create unprecedented growth that makes their competition irrelevant. Ultimately, that's the first decision we're asking people to make. The second decision is that high intent leads are what allow us to never convince again and are the gold standard of leads. This is the second micro decision we want our audience to be able to make. The third micro decision we want people to make is that bingeable decisions equal the ability to get leads to sell themselves, allowing you to have consistent and highly profitable and highly scalable client acquisition that doesn't rely on you always being on. The fourth decision is that world-class client results are what allow you to create pure profit marketing and a legacy that will outlast you. And finally, the last micro decision is that when all of these pieces come together, that is ultimately what allows you to create a truly scalable business that isn't reliant on you and allows you to scale without limits and change the world. Understanding these decisions and the checkpoints now informs us on what information we need to give people along that pathway. So, whether that's on a sales page or within your marketing content, you've now outlined the main pieces that need to be covered. For us, we combine this with compounding decisions, our proprietary decision approach that tackles the 5 key points that, regardless of the industry or even the decision, our brains are naturally processing through in order to get to that yes. So let's recap a little bit of what this looks like using a different example. Let's say instead that I want to get my kid to brush her teeth. Now, the decision I want her to make is that brushing her teeth with an electric toothbrush is the best way to get clean and sparkly teeth that will give her a great smile so that she can feel confident all day long. Now, instead of throwing all these random ideas about brushing her teeth, from reasons why she should do it to how to do it to ways to brush or what's wrong with not brushing, I understand the micro decisions that her brain needs to go through. So, in the case of getting your child to brush their teeth, the first micro decision we're making is this idea behind lifelong friends. If we grow and maintain our teeth for life, then they become our lifelong friends and they need to be healthy for the next 100 years. So, we need the decision to be made that we want to maintain healthy teeth for the next 100 years. The second decision we need to make is that making new habits can actually be fun. The reality is, getting people to brush their teeth is more of a habit than anything else. And so, if we link the idea of singing a brushy song equals a fun habit we look forward to, now we've established the second decision we need people to make. The third decision we need to make is that we can cover our whole mouth in just 2 minutes. Explaining the fact that we can say hello to every single tooth in just 2 minutes allows us to accomplish this easy and simple process, making teeth brushing seem totally fun. Now, this informs me of what information we can provide to help that decision as fast as possible. In business, that means less content and more conversions. It means your leads can get to a decision while you're fast asleep in your warm bed. And it means less touch points, chasing leads, or needing to figure out what's missing. You make it easy, enjoyable, and fast to get to a yes. So now that we understand how to simplify the decision with decision mapping, we want to look at how to even further ease that marketing process to make the answer singular. Now, one of the easiest ways to make marketing less effective is by giving people too many big decisions. I want you to think about it this way. Every ask we make is a decision. We ask them to join our masterclass. That's a decision. We ask them to read our content, another decision. We ask them to download one freebie this week, a decision. Another freebie the next week, another decision. We ask them to choose between offer A, B, and C, another decision. The average adult is already making 35,000 decisions a day, and we just added 6 more in a matter of minutes. We want things to be easy, both for our customers and for us, which means that we need to turn off as many decisions as possible. I call this a singular ask. When someone enters my world, I choose to have a singular ask. I don't have to have them decide whether or not they should join this masterclass or that. They don't have to choose this offer or that. They don't have to think about the dozens of things other business owners are making them think of and agonize over. It's one of the big reasons we've collapsed the typical sales cycle from 90 plus days to an average of as little as a matter of hours. Now, 14 years ago, I worked in multi-billion-dollar corporations leading their marketing. And the first thing I would do is outline their process and highlight their asks. The lists were long and complicated, and it was difficult to keep track of. With that list in hand, I would actually get to work at cutting it, trimming the fat wherever I could. But the biggest shift I'd make is in creating singular asks. The reality is, what is difficult to keep track of is difficult to track. And what's difficult to track is absolutely difficult for your audience to move through. So working with you shouldn't feel like they're part of an escape room with countless codes they need to crack just to say yes. Asking your audience too many things is a deterrent. So instead of having a million things they need to decide, we create a singular ask. In our case, it's that the easy yes method is the right fit. That means you don't need 5 offers, 6 freebies, 4 workshops, so on and so forth. Our entire system is built using a method-based selling process. It makes both the process and the ask singular. And it works like this: regardless of how you enter our world or when, the ending will remain the same. My method is the answer to your problem. This not only makes the entire process easier for us internally, it makes the process for our customers to say yes a straight line. Think of it this way: where most businesses require multiple funnels and multiple launches and multiple offers in order to support their clients, we have one singular method-based selling system that does all of that for us. It creates the straightest line possible, allowing people to buy at their own pace on their own time without any interference. Because the fastest path to yes is the straightest line that leads them right to the treasure. This is why we focus on creating what we call a treasure map marketing. Now, before I jump in and explain how it works, let's talk about why it works. We already established that the straightest line, the easier the yes. But what many people don't realize is that trying to optimize and scale a complicated process is nearly impossible. For years, I tried to make fluffy chocolate chip cookies, and all the recipes I use had dozens of ingredients. And trying to figure out what singular ingredient I needed to fix to make them the most fluffy was an impossible process. Then one day I found a 5-step cookie process: baking powder, cornstarch, flour, butter, and chocolate chips. It took me 3 times to figure out that it was the cornstarch that needed adjusting. And since then, my cookies have been the talk of Christmas. Now, it's easier to optimize a simple and succinct process than a complicated one. The less ingredients, the easier it becomes to scale. And externally, for your prospects, the ability to get to buy without jumping through hoops means it becomes an easy yes. Now, there's 2 key parts to what I call treasure map marketing systems. Number 1 is that each piece of the puzzle feeds and adapts the next step. Number 2 is that it feeds one singular outcome. So let's address both parts, starting with part 1. When it comes to feeding the next step while adapting, think of it like a game of ping pong. When we hit the ball with the paddle, it has to first bounce on our side and then on the opponent's side. Those are variables that remain the same. But where it goes on our side of the table and where it goes on the other side of the table are all variables that change and ones that we have to account for. Same thing goes in our marketing. Someone may come in from a podcast episode or maybe a post that you wrote in someone else's group, and they may land on your page first, or they may go straight to your website. These are all slight variables in the same process. This is why having a marketing system that feeds every next step and adapts with each previous step becomes so powerful. In our business, we have just 2 main systems that work together to feed back and forth and be able to move towards the same end results. We have our bingeable sales system and our inbound demand system. Now, these 2 systems operate independently of each other, but they also feed into each other. Let me give you an example. If someone replies to a post that I shared inside of a group, then they're directly moved to our bingeable sales system. Once they've gone through that system, now they're moved directly into our inbound demand system, feeding one next step to the next. Now, what that's doing is allowing our audience to be able to move through that decision making process without needing to move them every step of the way or distract them every step of the way. But what it also means is that somebody could enter into our world through our podcast, and they're now given the opportunity to move directly into a call or directed to our bingeable system. Seeing how every piece within the ecosystem consistently works together, feeding and adapting each previous and next step. Which leads to part two, creating one singular outcome. Now, a few years ago, my family and I did a corn maze around Halloween, and it had so many twists, turns, detours, and dead ends along the way. Now, after 30 minutes, we found our way out the other end, and it was meant to turn you around in circles over and over again. And while that was a fun activity for families, nobody wants to feel stuck in a corn maze when they want to get to the end quickly. Imagine you trying to go through a corn maze when all you really want to do is make it to the bathroom as quickly as possible. You're going to feel frustrated that you have so many twists and turns. Same thing goes for your high intent leads. They don't want to go through that corn maze just in order to make a decision. And yet, so many businesses are operating with a corn maze style marketing. So many unnecessary steps, roadblocks, detours, all in hopes of getting people to a yes. But it's not about adding more. It's about how can we simplify that process so saying yes becomes so dang easy that you could market less, no more posting 3 times a day, or running another live launch, or spending tens of thousands of dollars on ads just to try and meet your growing revenue needs. And leads are moving through the process without you holding their hands every single step of the way. And better yet, they sell themselves because with every piece in your process, it's built to give them the exact information they need at the exact time to confidently and quickly say yes. It's the key to giving them their own treasure map, the step by step process that leads them to that yes with the least amount of steps as possible. So, sure, you may have different entry points, but within one step, they all merge together with a singular intent and destination. This is why the Easy Yes method is so powerful and why we focus on helping our clients to get their leads to sell themselves. The first step is winning the market and becoming the only and incomparable solution. We do this by developing your innovative gap methodology that allows you to become the only and incomparable solution. We do this by identifying the key market gaps and creating your innovative approach on how you solve for this. This allows you to charge 5 to 10 times more and has your leads lining up to work with you. The second step in the process is having a bingeable decision system. This is how we get our leads to sell themselves by ultimately understanding the key decisions that people need to make along a bingeable pathway and creating that dual system that works together to help them get there. So ultimately, your leads can sell themselves on the shortest pathway possible. And the third and final piece is ultimately having the ability to be able to get your clients results at scale. So they become your most powerful salespeople and shout your names from the rooftop, telling anyone that will listen, creating pure profit in your business. So if you want to learn a little bit more about how we can apply this treasure map marketing process and everything within the Easy Yes method, I want to invite you to the next step so you can book a call directly with me to talk about your growth optimization plan. So head on over to easyesleads.com/call to book a call with me now. And if you are just new around here or you want to learn a little bit more about how the Easy Yes method works, leveraging the Netflix effect to get your leads to sell themselves, head on over to easyesleads.com to binge our mini series. As always, we love and appreciate if you could just take one quick minute out of your day today and rate and leave us a note wherever you're watching or listening on this episode. This allows us to help even more businesses create a movement that changes the world with innovators in the lead. And if it's been valuable, we'd love if you'd share it with a friend. But until next time, here's to keeping it real.